It is Locked On NBA Game Night for the night of Tuesday, May 20th. On today's show, the Thunder go up 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals. We'll tell you how they did it and what the Timberwolves need to do going into Game 2.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen every day. Great show for you today. We'll take a look at what went wrong for the Timberwolves and look ahead to the Eastern Conference Finals in a second. But let's start with the Thunder part of this. We are recording this right after they beat the Timberwolves in Game 1. They're down 4 at halftime. They go on a 17-2 run in the third quarter to break the game open, and they did it the same way that they piled up wins all season long, with defense and with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander playing like an MVP. Tony, what stood out to you in this one?
Yeah, exactly what you just said. Like, they come out in that second half, and it's just a perfect continuing avalanche, snowball, accumulation, whatever you want to say, of Thunder stop, cross-matching, Thunder easy basket, Thunder stop, transition chance, Thunder stop. Here comes Shai, who wasn't like that great to start this game. He started, 2 for 10, 2 for 11, something like that. It's just, when they get clicking like that, they're really tough to beat, and they can do it with size in a way that very few teams can get out and run and force you to play like that. And so they just had so many plays in the third quarter where it's like, oh, only the Thunder can do that. Their half-court defense in the playoffs has been so good, right? As many, even you and I, after the Memphis series, like, a lot of people have bellyached about their half-court offense at times throughout the playoffs. Like, they haven't been perfect, but they just have such a huge high floor when they guard. And once they got through whatever when Julius Randle stopped being amazing, he was so good to start this game, they just were getting stop after stop, and it made life so easy for them on the other end of the floor. And the Timberwolves just could not get out of that cycle.
Yeah, Minnesota in the third quarter really got locked up. They go 6 of 19 overall, 3 of 13 from three-point range. I actually thought they got some pretty decent looks in this game. But for the most part, the Thunder didn't overreact. They never overreacted to Julius Randle going off. They didn't overreact when Minnesota started the game hot from three-point range. And their strategy was essentially, okay, we're going to pack the paint, and we know you're going to try to get into the middle and kick out to your shooters. We don't care. We're going to still pack the paint. And when you do kick out to your shooters, we're just going to run at them. And we're going to hope that you miss more than you make. And for the most part, it obviously worked. I mean, the Timberwolves finished with a ton of threes. They ended up going 15 of 51 from three-point range. It's the highest three-point rate in a playoff game outside of that crazy Celtics game where they took a bajillion threes. So they only shot 29%. They're probably going to make more than that going forward. But it's not like they shot well from two-point range either. They shot 35% overall. So, yeah, I thought that the Thunder did a really good job just not overreacting. And then they got to their stuff. And when I say they got to their stuff, they get to their stuff defensively. You know, they pick their spots with that defensive shell, and they pick their spots to kind of dial that shell up to 11 and extend it out to the half court or even beyond half court and into the other team's side and start pressing and force the ball out of your hands. And so they do that a lot. They scored 31 points off of 17 turnovers in this game, and that was a big reason for that third quarter run.
Yeah, they have some lineups when Chet's at the 5, or like today, Daniel's like, hey, Kenny Hustle, let's go. I'm dusting you up.
Yep.
We're like, everybody can guard everybody, right? Not actually, no one can truly guard 1 through 5 in the NBA except for like 3 guys. But it makes it so easy for them to stay in front or feel comfortable in whatever situation they're in, not have to overreact and panic. And like you mentioned, the shooters, the Wolves on these kickouts, the Wolves have players who can make threes. I don't want to say anyone on their team's a bad shooter besides Gobert, obviously, who doesn't shoot. But like outside of DiVincenzo, how many guys, well, and it takes a bunch, but he creates them himself. Like how many guys are you straight up panicking about their 3 on the Minnesota Timberwolves? Like not that many to me. Naz Reid, maybe, I guess. It's like, you're kind of every team has to pick what they're kind of willing to live with in the playoffs, especially in this. I like the John Morant term that everybody's going to use now, the pigeon era, right? So like, okay, your weak point is like, we're not that afraid of any one individual shooter. And so you get in a situation where the Wolves bench goes 5 of 28 from 3, and like we're terrible on all the rest of their shots too. Those guys have been good in the playoffs. I'm not saying it's going to continue, but it makes life easy for a Thunder team that wants to defend that way anyway. The points in the paint gap ended up comical. I can't remember what the exact final numbers were, but like I don't even think Minnesota cracked 30.
It was 54 to 20.
20. Jeez Louise. Yeah, like that'll win you every single game. And that snowballs with what you just said. They force a gazillion turnovers. They're so handsy. They're so tough to deal with on the perimeter that it just forces these teams to make mistakes. The Wolves did it 17 times. They're already a high turnover team. Like they don't have any insanely good passers or anyone who's awesome handling, and they just get out and run and take advantage of that stuff. It's like the perfect matchup for them in that way. We'll get to the Wolves fixes as our graphic says if you're watching on YouTube, but like it's kind of like they had to kick themselves in the head and be like, hey guys, like we have to focus. We can't let what they do with these turnovers beat us. Otherwise, the Thunder and the things they're good at are just going to roll in this series. Like they had a really easy time in the second half in a way that I was like, man, that feels very repeatable to me.
They get on these runs that are powered by their defense. I've said this before, but there are 29 teams that say their defense fuels their offense, and there's one team that actually does it at the level of the Thunder. And they are so scary because they're unlike every other team in the league in terms of it feels like every team goes on runs when they just make 3 out of 5 3-pointers or something. It's very variance driven with the 3-point shot, whereas with the Thunder, it's completely controllable. They literally just decide, okay, we're turning it up to 11 defensively. Nobody's going to get anything past us. We're going to start pressing the ball at half court. And then even when Minnesota does get into their half court offense, they send this like late help with Alex Caruso or Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren or whoever it's going to be, just dives at the player with the ball on a late help, kind of just scram, and they knock the ball out of their hands, and then it's going the other way, and they score. They're so good at scoring in transition. You mentioned the bench. I thought that was this felt like a home game for Oklahoma City in a lot of ways, and one of the biggest ways was that their bench just completely outscored Minnesota's bench.
Wasn't even close.
Yeah, they just completely outplayed them. You mentioned getting Kenrich Williams in there. They were able to go small, which really helped fuel things defensively for them in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter as well, but the Minnesota couldn't get anything from their bench. I want to highlight Chet Holmgren too, because I thought he had a series at the beginning of the fourth quarter that really it didn't swing the game because the Thunder went on that huge 17-2 run in the third quarter to break the game open after trailing by 4 at halftime. But then fourth quarter starts and Minnesota's kind of hanging in there. They cut the lead back to 9. It's like, okay, Anthony Edwards is about to check in. Can they make a run here? Chet Holmgren gets 2 straight dunks on pick and rolls, just blows right by Minnesota's defense. Minnesota sends 2 to the ball on both times. One time, I think it's Cason Wallace on the first one, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the second one running the pick and roll. Minnesota sends 2 to the ball. Chet slips, cuts, dive dunk, easy bucket there. And then he gets a huge tip in a couple plays later. And I thought that was just
3 right before it.
Just huge stuff for Chet Holmgren in the fourth quarter. I thought, again, didn't swing the game, but kind of solidified the cushion that they needed.
Totally agree. He was very good throughout the second half. Monster block. And like, I can't remember exactly like how this would have gotten registered, but he had that play getting it from Randall. And I'm like, if he can hang with Julius Randle, that's a big deal, because I thought that Caruso was probably going to be the guy to guard him the most. But it was a Randall Reed front court at the time. And so with no Gobert on the floor, this is a chance for a center to have an inside impact for this 5-out offense Thunder. Lo and behold, here comes Chet Holmgren, both ends of the floor, like hanging with these powerful guys, finishing with power himself. That was a big stretch. And it just like plays like that and stretches like that make me wonder if the Thunder will ever just stop. Like, there's no reason to. They're so good. If they'll just ever be like, screw it, let's just start Caruso. Like, we know this is our best group. We went to it in the second half of the Denver game. Caruso played more than Hartenstein today. There's no like real chain reason. He's not like matching up with any specific player on the Wolves where they like need Caruso to come off the bench, but it doesn't really matter. But it's moments like that when Chet's just feasting against other big lineups. I'm like, they can get away with him. It's the only center probably more than they do. Not that they need to reduce Hartenstein's minutes, but he's just awesome. And That the fact that that's the kind of stuff the Thunder can think about. Oh, this really good player or that really good player. Who should play more with our MVP and other good shooters and defensive players? It's like they're just loaded in this series. I feel it's one game. I don't want to overreact too much, but just feels like an easier matchup for the stuff they're good at than the Denver team that they just beat and didn't even look that good doing it. They're just really, really good.
Awesome game for Jalen Williams on both ends. Just a classic
Yes.
Jalen Williams two-way game. I thought defensively he was great. Started the game on Julius Randle. Caruso got a bunch of Randle reps. Caruso was obviously great in this game. Did he have how many steals did he get credited for?
None.
0?
Somehow.
That seems wrong. He had a bunch of deflections in that game. And then last thing that I want to at least mention here, the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander foul part of this. He's 11 of 14 from the free throw line in this game. I don't know if this was an online conversation, Tony. We were talking before we started recording about whether or not this is even important. I'll just say my take on the fouls because it's just sort of the elephant in the room. I thought he probably got 3 or 4 free throws that were pretty much freebies from the officials. That's not the reason the Thunder won the game.
Yeah, that means he took 10 more that were normal.
Earned. Yeah. And he was
Right?
he was actually forcing the issue in a way that nobody in
Yes.
Minnesota, including Anthony Edwards, was doing.
Caitlin Cooper, who covers the Pacers, so obviously I see her post all the time, said nobody moves like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which is why I'm not perfectly phrasing what you said, but like that's why he draws more fouls. Like It leads to different kinds of contact. My advice to people who complain about that would be complain about the Timberwolves then. Like they're fouling and not defending very well. They should do better at that. And it's not easy to do. That's why Shai's so good. He wasn't that good to start this game, but when you can get to the line as much as he does, you can like what was the end of the third when he started really going crazy during that stretch? Like once he's going, you're toast, right? And he's a decent defender for his ability to. Just a great player. He was really good.
ESPN had the stat he scored or assisted on 20 points in the third quarter for the Thunder. That sounds pretty good. Coming up next, what do the Timberwolves need to do to fix things heading into Game 2? Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, the fit, comfort, just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everybody. From boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims 5-inch boxer briefs, and I gotta tell you, I am hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me. They never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day, whether I'm working out or just running errands. They're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA in Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims is the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Let's take a look at the Timberwolves side of things. Here's Locked On Wolves host Ben Beacon.
The Minnesota Timberwolves fell to the OKC Thunder in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. I'm Ben Beacon, host of the daily Locked On Wolves podcast. This was a tale of two halves. Minnesota really good defensively in the first half, up by 4 at halftime, but it really should have been a double-digit lead. We predicted on the show that the Wolves would have plenty of opportunities to shoot open threes in this series, and they did. For the game, they shot just 29%. They missed a ton of open threes in the first half, and again, it should have been a double-digit halftime lead. They come out of the locker room in the third quarter not prepared to deal with OKC's really speed and length. Another thing we talked about previewing this series, OKC forced 17 Minnesota turnovers in the game, and the third quarter flurry was a huge part of it. OKC went small in the second half. Minnesota couldn't slow down SGA, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander ended up shooting 14 free throws, outplaying Anthony Edwards, who had just 18 points on only 13 shots in this game. Julius Randle had 20 points in the first half, only 8 in the second half, and the Wolves find themselves down 1-0. Game 2 on Wednesday in OKC. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Wolves for all things Timberwolves.
So, Tony, what do you think is the main thing that the Wolves got to fix out of what Ben was talking about there?
Yeah, the boring answer is probably the right answer to start. The play better adjustment. Love that when you're a team. But, like, they did miss shots that they like. They haven't shot well in the playoffs, right? They've had a couple of games where it's like they were how bad from 3 and they somehow won or, like, competitive. Thank you, Tim Bontemps, for this one, and he is actually citing. I love that everybody knows him as the great Stats Williams, but the ESPN research guy. Open threes in Game 1. Minnesota 11 for 39. OKC was 10 for 16, right? Like, it's boring when that's the answer. So there's obviously some tactical, strategic things we'll get to. The Wolves will not come and play the same way in game 2 and game 1, but like, that's the first part of it. I know I joked in the first part, like that not even joked. I was serious. DiVincenzo, fear, like that guy puts up huge volume and makes threes. No one else is so scary, but they should make way more than that. Like, there's no bad shooters on Minnesota. So that's the first part. Play better, keep executing tactically, like, again, beat it into your brain. Do not turn the ball over. Like, they can't, you just can't. I know that it sounds so easy to say that. OKC's so good at forcing it, but a lot of guys with multiple in this game. A lot of guys with multiple in this game. They got to get through to that. How much can Rudy play, man? Like, I hate to say it, but he's so good. But if they cannot score enough at the basket and the Thunder, I just think, can they just play Naz Reid more? That sounds so crazy to say. Rudy Gobert is really good, but this is a very, very, very uniquely bad series for him.
It is. And I almost tweeted it in the first half where I was like, Rudy Gobert is not playing well. And then I looked at the box score and he was a +10. And I'm like, am I dumb? Like, what am I getting wrong here? I got to trust my eyes. He ended up being a -2 in the game. So I think it all balanced out. But it wasn't just the getting out on the perimeter and getting beat by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in space, which actually didn't happen all that much in this game. The problem was when he's in that drop, and he's going to primarily play drop because he's Rudy Gobert, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams are going to get to those pull-up 2-pointers, and they're just going to hit them. Yep. And they're just going to hit them, and they're just going to hit them. And within the first couple minutes of this game, Gobert went to drop, Shai got into that mid-range area, and he drew a foul, and Gobert has picked up 2 fouls in the first minute and a half of this game and had to go to the bench right away. They bring in Naz Reid, and then he gets toasted for a little bit. He was a -21 in the game, so I don't even know if going small is that good of an option for them. But it wasn't just that with Gobert. He was also getting beat backdoor on lobs with Chet Holmgren kind of cutting backdoor in that dunker spot. And then Isaiah Hartenstein was hitting floaters over him. So even when he was in drop, it wasn't working. When he was defending man-to-man Oklahoma City's bigs, they were getting the best of him. He just really wasn't doing a whole lot out there, and he only played 21 minutes. Some garbage time at the end here, but he was pulled way before that.
They're playing a 5-out team with the guy that he would be guarding either being someone who can shoot or someone who can hit that floater you just described. There's guys who can make the mid-range shot. So, like, there's a million reasons he's pulled up. So then he's already not as impactful as he can be in a lot of other series. And then the other side, he's going against a very good rim protecting team with a very good shell. That makes it hard to get those tight angle passes unless he's getting garbage buckets off of offensive rebounds. He's really hard to use on that end too. They just had 20 points in the paint, right? We already went over that. That sounds so like I hate the boring adjustment first of going to just like straight rotations, but it's like, dude, they need all the space and wiggle room you can get against that good of a defense. I wonder what that's going to end up looking like as the series progresses. And
they tried Randall at the 5 at one point.
They did.
Is there a Randall McDaniels
that's
thing there?
But that's really, I don't know. I'll let you do the stats. Like, Ant has not started series well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gotten better in his career at identifying coverages and getting off of it. But, like, we can quibble about him going 5 for 13 or whatever in the game. That's not good. But a negative assist to turnover ratio equally killer. Like, he's got to be crisp with his decision making. We already have talked about the turnovers because this is a team with a lot of defenders to throw at him. He's going to see a lot of tricky coverages. His side of the floor is going to have 4 guys on it all the time. Like, basic reads might not be enough. He's got to see openings and make good passes. And I think he'll figure out that defense pretty quick. He's been good about that, but not the greatest start for him. The two, like, well, you'd consider the star, maybe Randall's better. Actually, definitely Randall's better now than Gobert. But, like, at one time, would you consider the star guys trying to lead this team? Like, both of them are be better guys.
Yeah, Ant just took 1 shot in the entire fourth quarter, 0 points in the fourth quarter. That's not going to cut it, even with garbage time baked in.
It was a 10-point game to start the quarter, though. Like, it wasn't over.
No, it wasn't. And he needed to do more. He tweaked his ankle. He looked okay when he came back. I don't know if that's something that's going to flame up, something to just maybe monitor, keep a note of as we get into game 2 here. But Edwards does tend to start these series slow. This is just what he does now. And he started this series slow too, and it's his first upside down assist to turnover ratio game since game 1 against the Warriors.
Dang.
But obviously he got better as that Warriors series got on. I'd expect better Anthony Edwards games as this goes. I thought actually when he was engaged, he was getting to his spots. And when he's getting to his spots and he's getting middle against Oklahoma City's defense, they could spray out the shooters. He goes, I thought it was a good sign for Minnesota that they got 21 corner three-pointers in this game.
Yeah.
So just another good three-point. They only went 5 for 21 from the corner. You'd expect that to be a little bit better. Now, credit to Oklahoma City. They did do a good job chasing out and contesting, but you'd still expect them to be better than 5 of 21 from the corner. So if you're looking for
more zone,
it could be that too. I want to go back to Dante DiVincenzo, though, really quick. He's shooting 25% from 3 in the playoffs.
Ugh.
He was 3 of 12 tonight. He has to get better. He has to be better. At some point, if you're a Timberwolves fan, you're just hoping like regression to the mean and he just shoots like 60% over the next 5 games. At some point, you're going to get some sort of reversion statistically there. Other than that, I don't really know. I think you got to experiment with lineups the way that they did. Try to land on one. Gobert's got to be better. Ant's got to be better, because if we could do all the lineup stuff, but if your star players aren't playing better, you're not going to have a chance in the series.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but DiVincenzo, I mean, I covered it. I was at the Knicks Pacers series last year, and that dude hit like 50% of 10 threes a game. Like, that dude can be a sniper in these settings on the move. He hasn't been, right? And like, that's a big part of this trade being successful, is that Randall and Dante were good at times in the season. Only one of them has been good in the playoffs. Alas, the play better adjustment remains.
We are going to move over to the Eastern Conference Finals. We have Tony East from Locked On Pacers here. So we're going to take a closer look at how the Pacers can win Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Car Gurus. Shopping for a car should be exciting, not exhausting, but between the confusing prices and hidden fees, it can feel overwhelming. That's why I love using Car Gurus. They help you cut through the noise and show you the best deals with full confidence. With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the U.S. They verify dealers, provide real price analysis, and give you the tools and data you need to make the right choice without second-guessing yourself. Need a deal that you can trust? Car Gurus makes it easy to compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deal ratings. And the best feature, price drop alerts, so you know exactly when the perfect car is available on your budget. Plus, the in-depth vehicle details give you peace of mind before stepping into any lot. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at CarGurus.com. Go to CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's CarGurus.com. 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 We'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Tony East from Locked On Pacers, the expert. I know you've been looking forward to this Pacers-Knicks series a lot over the last few days. I'm sure you've been talking about it a ton. I know you've been talking about it a ton over on Locked On Pacers.
We'll get to it later.
So Pacers-Knicks, what's in all the conversations that you're having, your crossovers, your analysis, your previews, what's the one thing that you keep coming back to?
There's a couple. To me, to like answer that with one word that actually means a lot of things, it's like the differences between the teams strategically, right? The Pacers, 7th in pace this year, faster last year, bucking the adage of like the game slows down at playoffs. No, they're going to play fast all the time. Good luck. Knicks, 26th in pace this year. We can watch them grind out these possessions. They can get deep in the clock and feel confident because they have Jalen Brunson. Slower, and they'll still get a good shot every trip, right? Big difference. One team plays 5 guys and then has 2 others that they like out there, although Mitchell Robinson and Deuce McBride have been quite good. The Pacers play 10, sometimes 11 in one playoff game and feel good about it, right? The minutes, the wear down effect, all that is a big part of it. The Knicks love to rebound. The Pacers love to get back in transition or push in transition. Like, there's all these differences about the team that whatever takes hold with those strategical choices, I feel like will be the difference in a lot of these games, because both of them have played well in the playoffs. They've beaten 60-plus win teams, albeit with injuries, and have clearly shown their identity is good and works on this stage. Like, a lot of advanced stats or regular stats or whatever stats you like from the regular season. Like, dang, these two teams are like equivalently level good. The Pacers have been better of late. They're both awesome in the clutch. Like, they have so many similarities. And so there's the things I keep coming back to are just these very, not even small, but just these very kind of niche differences that make the teams who they are. And I think which team can kind of get a grip on their identity taking hold in this series will be the team that ends up winning, because, you know, if it's a faster series, the Pacers will win. If it's slower, rebound, physical heavy, the Knicks will win. And they've been great at that in the playoffs. Like, that to me is what stands out about it the most.
I think one of the things with the Pacers over the last couple of years that is their greatest strength is their ability to establish their identity within the opening couple minutes of every basketball game. They just lead the league in setting the terms of engagement, it feels like, on a night-to-night basis. And so if what you're saying is true, then I think that does favor the Pacers. I have a couple questions for you, because I think all the things you said, we could dive into those a little bit, but in terms of the strategic part of this from the Pacers' perspective, they defended the Knicks pretty straight up in their regular season meetings.
Yep.
But they also got a lot. They played 3 times in the regular season, got most of it out of the way earlier in the year. I think their last game was a couple of days before the trade deadline. It was before the league figured out, hey, if we just put a wing on Karl Anthony Towns, we can kind of screw up everything that the Knicks do. The Pacers played it straight up with Miles Turner on Cat.
And Cat played very well against the Pacers.
He averaged like 30 points per game against the Pacers.
Yeah.
Do you think they Do you think they switch it up, because they also have determined that Aaron Nesmith is their best defender on Jalen Brunson, and if you were going to do the wing on Cat thing, Nesmith would be the obvious guy, but then what do you do with Brunson?
Yeah, you figured out the conundrum that I've had trying to figure out. The other part is, like, I started to work backwards. Like, pretend you're the Pacers. Step one, okay, where are we hiding Tyrese Halliburton? Like, the answer you want to say is Josh Hart, but that, like, putting a center on him is half the strategy of putting a wing on Karl Towns. So then you have to, like, figure out every spot, and so that's why I don't know, right?
Yeah, so Halliburton he'd probably end up on Anunoby, which...
No, I think it'd be on Mikal Bridges.
On Bridges, okay.
Which is still not awesome, right? He could just turn around and shoot these post fades over dudes.
Yeah.
It's so hard. So here's what I hope I didn't delete it. I've had so many notes that I have and have not deleted throughout the playoffs. For my predictions I didn't. Oh, I did keep them up. My guess is it's Nembhard on Brunson. I know that last year that did not end up working. Nesmith ended up getting it and doing better, but Nembhard's a better defender this year. The Pacers believe in him. I think they'll give him the first crack at it. Nesmith on Cat, Turner on Bridges, Halliburton on Hart, Siakam on Anunoby. That's how they start.
Turner on Bridges.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know.
He's going to sag off of Bridges?
Well, because the other option is Halliburton on Bridges and Turner on Hart, and I have that as like my this is also something that would make sense to me. But if you put Halliburton on Bridges, like, you might just be giving up that post fade over and over. Maybe you're okay with that, but also, like, Tyrese Halliburton's gonna have to box out Josh Hart a trillion times. It's really hard. Like, that's another part of this I didn't mention when you asked about the differences. Like, I could go through all these cutesy little things these teams are great at, and it might just be like every possession is like, who's Jalen Brunson guarding? All right, come here. Your setting is great. Okay, who's Tyrese Halliburton guarding? All right, come here. Like, it's just two pigeons going back and forth who have two really good players. So that or flipping it to Turner on Hart, Halliburton on Bridges are my best predictions for what happens. And I think that'll be a big story every game. No one's going to guard their own position. So, like, every transition play is going to be hilarious with everyone being like, wait, who do I have? Where do I go? Like, it'll be a very funny series in that way.
Well, that's the other part of this too, is you look at the playoff that Halliburton, he's been amazing, right? He's getting into the paint, he's driving more, he's isolating more, and he's having a ton of success doing that in the playoffs. But then you look at the wings that has been guarding him. It's Gary Trent Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. in the first round. It's Max Strus and Isaac Okoro in the second round. These are not Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby. We talked about shells when we talked about Oklahoma City. The Knicks could put out a pretty strong shell as well. And to see if Halliburton's going to do that is really interesting. But then to your initial point, the way you counter that is don't let them get into their shell. Push the pace. Yeah, get into transition, make it a full court game. It'll be fascinating to see how they handle
the Knicks don't switch as much too. And like Halliburton sees a switch and is immediately like, all right, let's do this and that. Like, let's go. You here, let's go. We're doing it in 1 second. No one think, and it works. That's another part of it is who's Brunson guarding. Nesmith's way better than last year on the offensive end. Like, obviously Bridges can guard Halliburton, OG on Pascal. Like, that's the two toughest joint matchups for those guys that the Pacers have seen yet. But someone is going to have an easier matchup. And like, as great as Cat is, he's going to, again, he'll be a positive player in the series. He's got to guard someone. Like, is Miles Turner about to set up a billion screens? Like, I don't know. So it's a really interesting series. There's just so many.
Is there one thing
goals
that you think the Pacers have to do to win the series?
Any one thing?
Yeah, if you were, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but if you were to distill it down, one thing that at least gives them a pretty good advantage.
They have to keep up in the rebounding battle, not even win it necessarily. I only say that because like one of the best ways to combat what the Pacers do is crash. Because if you're getting offensive rebounds, you're winning the possession battle and you're keeping them out of transition because they can't go if they have to box out and really be careful about hitting the glass. And it still takes the effort of like turning and facing your guy and defending after the Pacers get a defensive rebound. But the very, very best Pacers defensive strategy is crash, face guard Halliburton off the ball, like do all these kind of tricky things with him. And the Cavs had success with that one game and went away from it for some reason, or the Bucks, excuse me. So no, it was the Cavs. So the rebounding, the team that won the rebounding battle won every game of Pacers Knicks last year, right? And I'm not saying the Pacers have to win it to win the game, but if they just get like Cat and Mitchell Robinson scoop up every board and Josh Hart gets his usual 10, like they're going to be in trouble. And that's not just on the bigs, right? Everybody knows about the Knicks. OG gets 5 a game, Hart gets 10 a game. It's an everybody thing. So they've got to be really careful about not letting the Knicks go crazy on the offensive glass while still being able to play fast and be like the open floor Pacers who create nightmares in that space.
Tony East, not only does he do a great job on game night, he's also the daily host of Locked On Pacers. For more on that, check out Locked On Pacers. But that will do it for us on Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. For Tony East, I'm Wes Goldberg. This has been Game Night. Thanks for hanging out with us.